As the weekends, we look at some of the interesting stories on the continent, which range from Africa's second most populated country, Ethiopia, and its current political crisis, to Burkina Faso, where over 80 are on trial for the failed 2015 coup, to our very own president, Cyril Ramaphosa, going on a whirlwind three-nation trip, its first international trip in the SADC region. And our old friend, Victor Kgomoeswana, is in studio with us. He's the author of Africa Open for Business. Good to see you, Victor. Thanks for coming in.
Good to see you. Good to be here.
Yeah. Let's start off with our president, shall we?
Yeah.
Because this is his first trip. He's embarking on. It's a big trip for him as the new president. How is Africa seeing him? I mean, are they happy that he's now president?
We will know about that, won't we? Remember, this is a term to the end of what would have been President Zuma's 5-year term and second term in office. I think, though, that the early signs in the country, that at least there is some sense of negotiated exit out of whatever we might have been inheriting from the past 9 years, and the fact that he's going into chairmanship of SADC, which itself needs a turnaround.
Yes.
Luckily for him, he's taking over just as Zimbabwe came out of its Mugabe era, Angola, where he's going, has come out of the Dos Santos era, and South Africa itself is turning the corner. So if you think about it, he's taking over a region that has had at least 2 countries, or 3 if you include South Africa, undergoing some major change, which means people would be a lot more bullish, and he will be a lot more bullish, I guess, about his prospects than if he came in and President Mugabe had still been president or Dos Santos had been in charge of Angola.
Yeah.
So I think overall he's seen as a negotiator, he's seen as a businessman. Whether we like it or not, some people believe because of his business and accumulated wealth, he will not be as susceptible to corruption as maybe somebody who isn't. So I don't know, but in the end, I think South Africa is in a better space than it would have been if we hadn't had the change.
And certainly, as you mentioned before, taking over as SADC president or chair is as important as being South African
It is
president.
just as important because remember, the countries Zimbabwe, Angola, South Africa form part of the region. And if you consider Zambia and where it is with President Lungu, and you consider the DRC, another member, a troubled member of SADC, and where it is with President Kabila, and then you add Tanzania, which is also a member of SADC, Mozambique coming out of its economic dip, you see a region that has got such potential only if its constituent or member states can get their act together.
Yeah.
And I think that starts with him as the chairman of SADC going into Angola and say, what are we going to do about the security situation? Because that's where Angola is. Going into Botswana, going into Namibia, and getting that handing over. But he's going to have to stamp his authority, more or less like President Mbeki maybe used to stamp his authority on the African matters.
Yes, very well known for that, President Mbeki, former president. Let's talk Ethiopia quickly now.
Right.
So the country really doing well. Reviving its economy. And now this unfortunate Oromo situation.
Yes.
Could this set the country back quite a bit?
It could. Let's give a context. Oromia is a province, one of the 9 provinces, you can say, and it's got about close to 30 million people.
Yeah.
And if you consider Ethiopia is about 100, just under 100 or thereabout, you'll understand this is a third of the population of the country. So whatever happens there is a big deal, and it's very centrally located, central to the south of the country. And since 1991, Oromia as a province, or where the Oromo people are, has been a subject of contention. Some people feeling like Oromo Liberation Front, feeling earlier on that there must be self-determination, but unfortunately within the Oromia itself, there's not a consensus. Some people feel self-determination as in breakaway. Others say, no, give us rights and all that. So from a party that was part of the changes that brought in the reign of late Prime Minister Zenawi, then there was conflict of some feeling marginalized. And now as we speak, there's a state of emergency, not entirely caused by Oromia, but it's aggravated by it.
Yes.
Because it has always been at the heart of the stability of Ethiopia. Many people, athletes, some of them artists, demonstrating on an international level for the breakaway, but because of the lack of consistency in the messaging. Are you talking a sovereign state? Are you talking self-determination as in more rights? It's just going to create the instability. Remember, as we speak, Haile Mariam Desalegn, the former prime minister, resigned. The country is in a state of emergency. Today, as we speak, the parliament is supposed to meet to either ratify or not that state of emergency. Yeah. So eventually, MPs are getting intimidated, reportedly, to not vote for before that in some areas. So it's one of those countries that are on this precipice that could go either way.
Yeah.
But it's way too important. It's a fast-growing economy, close to 9-10% growth rate. It's a very important project in the Grand Renaissance Dam because of what it could make it an exporter of electricity. And it's a huge agricultural economy for it to go wrong. So we'll see. We'll have to watch what happens.
And it's amazing to see Australia so interested in this. I mean, we need to hear more from our continent. But I'm not going to ask you to comment on that because I need to finally touch on Burkina Faso.
Yes.
Massive court case coming there, all between Thomas Sankara and Blaise Compaoré. Now, this is a major case where it was actually believed at the time that his legacy, whose assassination he was actually blamed for, Thomas Sankara. What's going to happen there?
I don't know, because the defense now is plain truant. Well, I'm saying plain truant from a position of ignorance. This is a trial of about 80 people, but the key ones are Gilbert Diendere, who was, I think, an army general, and somebody called Jibril Bankase or something like that. He is the former defense minister under Blaise Compaoré, who ruled the country, if you remember, for 27 years until he was forced out. Why forced out? Because he was trying to manipulate the constitution so he could run for another term after his term had expired. So here we have a trial of people who are seen to have been behind the attempted coup of the transitional government. So when Compaoré left, there was a transitional government. The people who are being accused now is because of the attempt to remove that transitional government. But because lots of people died and lots were injured and displaced, thus destabilizing to the south Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, to the east Niger, to the west Mali. And as you can just hear, those countries, all of them part of that troubled spot in West Africa. So it is one of those central economies. Still a small economy, important because it's a cotton producer, and important because it can destabilize that region. But the trial is neither here, is neither moving forward or stagnated because the defense are not there.
All right, let's see how that pans out. Victor, thank you for talking to us as always. Victor, just catching us up on some big news stories on the African continent. He, of course, is the author of Open for Business. Quick break. We've got more after this. Do stay tuned.